I don't think there's any issue with a man taking care of another man's child. Women do it all the time, whether you know or not.
Women never take care of a child unknowingly that is not theirs. How would a woman ever take care of a baby that is not theirs and not know that that baby is not theirs? Think about it. It never happens.
I think that the United States making DNA testing mandatory is stupid. If you feel like you need a DNA test, go do that on your own time.
We got bigger problems. We have bigger problems. I'm sorry. I'm not paying for no mandatory test.
Why are there so many women against doing paternity tests when the baby is born? To do a DNA test, you don't actually need the DNA of the mother. Does it help the test go smoother? Yes, but having the mother's DNA is definitely not required. But shouldn't the father be able to know that the child is his just like the mother knows that the child is hers because it came out of her? It seems like we should know who the father of our children are, and it shouldn't be offensive for someone to ask for a DNA test.
You claim you were duped into naming the baby and signing her birth certificate, and now the DNA test will prove your case.
You told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then, then I wouldn't have another. That's what you told me right there at the hospital. He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that?
Okay, but
Okay.
by signing that birth certificate, you have said to your state, I am acknowledging that I'm the father of this child, which means you're responsible to take care of the child. There is no guarantee that a state will remove your name from that birth certificate. You have to petition. Mr. Dark, you are not the father.
Yeah, I believe this is the third video I've made about paternity fraud. Yeah, fellas, if you're not married, until you have a paternity test, do not sign the birth certificate, because when you sign that birth certificate, that is a contract. That is a contract saying that I am taking responsibility for this little human, even if he's not mine. That's what that means if you sign the birth certificate without a DNA test. I'm not gonna keep running my mouth. This one's about paternity fraud. Cue the intro. Welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm back, you gold-red tatters.
If this is your first time finding my channel, the name of my channel is in the intro. Who am I? I'm Unc L. You call me Unc for short. Why? Because I'm old as hell and I'm somebody's uncle. And I'm that uncle that tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Rest in peace, Pops. Today, it's all about paternity fraud. I do believe this is part 3 in a series I've been making. But first and foremost, shout out to all my day one subs. Shout out to all my new subs. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. But help! I'm trying to get to 1,500 subs, y'all, and I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Also, if you would, give me a like, give me a sub, give me a share, and
Tell me what y'all think in the comments.
it helps push my content into the algorithm and gets it seen more. Now that I got all that out the way, paternity fraud, you know, too many chicks out here saying,
it's your baby,
without proof. And fellas, if you ain't got proof that that baby's yours these days, don't sign the birth certificate. Get a DNA test first. Even if you're married, get a DNA test. Do not tell your wife about it. Go to Walgreens, get your DNA test, swab your cheek, send it in, get that peace of mind.
message.
And the reason I say that, well, I'm gonna let the content speak for itself. Let's get into it.
When they did a data collection of all of the paternity test centers in America, they found that 32% of fathers who got a paternity test were indeed not the father of their children.
What? What the fuck?
Now you gotta take this with a grain of salt because these were the men who already had suspicions, but y'all not hearing me. This problem is so bad in Jamaica, it's about 70%. When the men's rights activists in Jamaica wanted to make it so that paternity tests were mandatory at birth, They said that they wouldn't allow it because it would cause too much femicide, meaning too many men would find out that their children are not actually their children, and they would end up harming the women.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
They thought it was so bad that they shouldn't even make it a thing. In France, this problem is so bad that you're not even allowed to get a paternity test unless it's ordered by a judge. They said, and I quote, that it would destroy and destabilize communities if they had mandatory paternity tests at birth.
Nasty bitch.
We literally have access to the alien technology that allows us to make sure that every father is actually providing for children that is biologically theirs, and our states and governments are going, nah, because that would mean women would have to be accountable for the decisions that they make.
It's just bullshit. Fuck.
And if you have this conversation with some women, they will really act offended.
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
All I'm gonna say is I never seen somebody wearing real diamonds afraid of a diamond test.
No. He's got a point.
Single-parent households is an epidemic, and we cannot seem to fix this issue. But can we fix the issue with paternity fraud? Thousands of men are dealing with this, and DNA tests are not convincing enough to change what is currently going on in the community. The answer is mandatory DNA tests.
There's no other possibilities. I have not been messing around with anybody else throughout the time that we were messing around.
Every day, more lies.
So you are 100% positive Mr. Harrington is your child's biological father.
Here come the DNA results.
You are not the
Told
father.
you.
What?
Told you, bro.
Are you serious?
Told you. Can I really rock?
No, you can't.
Sorry.
No, you can't. You know why? Because you have another child with her.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
That's real talk. You know, that's real talk. This is something we've been advocating for the last 5 years in the black male political agenda, mandatory DNA testing at birth. You know what I mean? And we do it because, you know, much as we like to thump our chests, every man, you know, is not going to be able to have the wherewithal to require one, to demand one. You know, you might be a kid having your first baby with this girl. You know, there's a million different scenarios where somebody isn't just going to be, you know, going to have the capacity to require that. And any man that's ever had a kid where your mother and grandmother and her family are all in the room when this baby comes out, there's a lot of social pressure that not everybody can own up to.
Do you have some doubts?
Well, I have my doubts as well because I wasn't around her a lot of the time during the conception of him and what she's saying, but I don't think my family would lie to me and, you know, tell me anything wrong to set me off track. Did not sign it because of what my mom said. I signed it for my own reasons. I didn't know for sure if he was mine or not, and I didn't want to have to go through a lot of things that people were telling me, like it was going to be very hard for you to get the name changed or do a lot of things if he's not yours and you find out all late.
To see her do well. And on top of that, if that's my nephew, yes, I'm gonna step up as an auntie and help raise my nephew.
The case of Thomas and Fields versus Armster and Griffin as it pertains to 5-month-old Cameron Armster. Mr. Griffin, you are not.
I mean, we can talk a lot of shit online about what we would do, but when you're standing in that room with this girl who just gave birth, you know, not everybody's going to be able to have the capacity to do it. So we need to have mandatory testing. But this work needs to continue because society is comfortable with letting men pay the freight on, you know, kids that aren't even theirs.
He ain't lying.
And if you make the mistake of actually signing the birth certificate, it's a wrap.
Exactly. First and foremost, shout out to Poor Man's Podcast. That was the first clip. Shout out to him. I've been with him since he was at like 3,000 subs. It's a trip how he's blown up. Congratulations. The next shout out goes to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. That's the guy with the white background. Go over there, give him a like, give him a sub, give him a share. I'm going to have links to both their videos in the description. Yeah, fellas, do not sign that birth certificate until after you've had a DNA test. Because once you sign that birth certificate, that is a contract with the state. And it is nearly impossible to get out of unless you are lucky enough to live in a state that has anti-paternity fraud laws. And I do not know of any state right now that has those.
That's the fact, Jack. That's a fact, Jack.
I'm pretty sure there are extenuating circumstances that can possibly get your name off that birth certificate, but it's few and far between. You're going to see that later on in this content. I'm going to stop running my mouth. Let's get back into it.
Blah, 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 yakety, schmackety, blah, blah.
Since we being honest, can I ask y'all ladies a question?
Why do y'all be entrapping, man? Why do a lot of these men that's coming in my that I'm talking to lately is saying there's an uptick in finding out the kid ain't theirs after 2 or 3 years old?
That's a good question, homie.
No?
That's a good question.
Can you explain why women would do that?
I guess finances? I would hope that the man that would be getting trapped at least
You
would
said
be
it's
like,
only broke women doing that.
I guess. I mean, that would be, in my opinion, that would be the only thing that makes sense. Is like, you don't know who the baby father is, so pick the guy that's the better financial option.
You lying ass bitch.
Fellas, take note of that. She's exposing that when a woman has no clue who the father could be among multiple sexual encounters, if she could choose instead of electing for a DNA test, her first action is to select the highest earner.
Much of the time, even if you prove the child isn't yours, you still have to pay. So 18 years of child support or whatever is taxing, but it's particularly unfair when you're not actually the father. And of course, women are not necessarily interested in justice as far as that's concerned. They're interested in self-preservation.
Jail is probably the most effective punishment. Her paying you back, probably not.
Need to be locked the up, man. It's gotta stop.
Especially if she does not have the money, you wouldn't be receiving what you've lost.
The hypocrisy, even from black women who believe and support the idea that men shouldn't be held accountable for babies that aren't theirs, they still, within the course of the discussion, turned around and blamed the men who aren't the fathers.
Yeah. So can men be responsible for who you guys get pregnant? Like, can you wrap it up maybe, and then you don't have to worry about it?
How you jump to that? Hold on.
That doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter.
It's mama's baby, daddy's maybe. The daddy's is
Always. I agree with you with that.
The daddy's is the one complaining, saying they don't know if it's their kid. So I'm like, if you wrap it up, would you have to really be worried about it?
No, hell no. Wait, hold on, Ray, are you fucking serious?
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
I'm dead.
Oh, shit. So you gonna sit here and tell me we gonna jump from paternity fraud to say, oh man, you should have wore a condom anyway, rather than saying women shouldn't be lying about who the father is?
Y'all do the same
talking
thing
about
to
if it's
women, y'all do the same thing to women. Y'all blame women.
We was talking
for
about
not making better decisions.
So you want to jump in the mud? Or you gonna be the moral high ground?
Neither one. I'm just saying what makes sense. Both of you guys are responsible.
We was also.
Both of you guys are responsible. So why can't the men be responsible for the part they're playing in?
No, hold on, lady. How is it both people's fault that she lied about who the father was knowingly?
I didn't say it was nobody's fault. I said, can the men be responsible for the part they?
How is a man responsible for her lying about who the father is?
He's responsible for potentially knocking her up.
No, how is he responsible for her lying?
He's not responsible for her. He's responsible for himself. That's the point I'm making.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
How would he be responsible, even if he did bust?
Why do you keep deflecting?
Hold on, wait, no. Wait, I got it. I'm trying to make her make it logical. How would it be he be responsible, even if he busted inside of her for her lying?
He's not responsible for her lying. He's responsible for busting inside of her. What part are you not understanding?
What does that have to do with her? Because the conversation.
It doesn't.
Exactly. So why did you bring it up?
Some people are really fucking stupid.
Because I said both sides need to be looked at because two parties were
involved. Both sides cannot be looked at in a scenario where she's lying. There is no both sides in that.
Right. I'm saying how you can prevent it so you won't be on here crying saying somebody.
There is no preventing somebody lying.
You on her crying saying somebody scammed you about being a dad. I'm saying how you can prevent it as a man.
There is no. Do you know? You do know that people get lied on even if they never had sex with the woman, right?
Did you see the deflection? Did you see how that woman, that young lady, tried to make it a both sides thing when it's really about a woman lying to a man about paternity? How is it a both sides thing? I understand what she meant and where she was trying to go. Wrap it up and you don't have to worry about that. Okay, yeah. What does that have to do with her lying about the fact that
it's your baby?
What does it have to do with that? If she has an inkling, it might not be yours. Accountability is like, man, for modern women, that's what it is. It's kryptonite. Let's continue.
Information in a story first exposed about the state ordering a Detroit man to pay child support for a kid that everybody agrees isn't his.
As 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell tells us, the court has made him a wanted man until he pays up.
When I exposed this story, I thought someone in front of the court would fix a clear injustice. Instead, a warrant has now been issued for Carnell Alexander's arrest. For him, it's deja vu. In 1991, during a traffic stop, Carnell Alexander got a shock. Police arrested him. His crime? Being a deadbeat dad.
I knew I didn't have a child, so I was kind of blown back.
He told 7 Action News he would later learn this happened because his ex needed help.
I had to turn to welfare to get assistance, to take care of them, and I had to put him down as the father. That was the only way I can get assistance.
That started a paternity case. A process server then turned in this paper saying Carnell had been notified at a house in Highland Park. So when he didn't show up at court, he was legally listed as dad. The problem? Carnell didn't get notified. He wasn't even at a house in Highland Park. He was in prison for a crime he committed as a young man. And by the time he learned about the paternity case, judges told him it was too late.
What?
Legally, he owes the state more than 30 grand for assistance paid to care for a child.
A bullshit? A bullshit. A bullshit.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
I did not father, that I did not biologically create or spend any time with throughout my life. I find that very unfair.
Carnell says he won't pay. He tells me tomorrow he will turn himself in.
I will go to jail if I have to because I'm tired of the situation of the mishandling of the case.
I don't think that's right.
Murray Davis from the National Family Justice Association says there are thousands of men in Carnell Alexander's shoes.
So even if you take a test and are not the father, you will still have to pay the debt and continuing child support for a child that is not yours. So apparently this is not an isolated situation. Thousands of men are going through this in the state of Michigan. Guys, check your state laws so this does not happen to you.
Fortunately, there was a positive outcome for Mr. Carnell Alexander.
You saw first on 7 Action News. A man said he was tired of paying child support for a child that was not his, and the courts knew was not his. Now, with this court order, he is one step closer to justice.
Carnell Alexander says he got a shock during a traffic stop in the early 1990s. The officer arrested him, telling him he's a deadbeat dad.
It's such an unfair system, period.
Turns out, while he was in prison for a crime he committed as a young man, an ex listed him as father. Notice of the paternity hearing was taken to his old house. When he didn't appear for the hearing he didn't know about, he was made dad by default. He went to court again and again, but could not get the matter resolved.
No one ever listened until I met you.
After we told his story on 7 Action News, an attorney volunteered to take on the case. Jerica Harris says she did so because she's outraged by how the system treated Carnell Alexander.
We declare him a deadbeat, we take his money, we garnish his wages, we take away his abilities to earn a living. That's an illegal taking. That's a violation of his constitutional rights.
Attorney Harris is preparing to appear before a federal judge and argue that Alexander deserves to sue the state and Wayne County for violating his civil rights. She says the case is important to protect others. It is only as her suit has moved forward that Wayne County dismissed the child support case against her client. Carnell got official notice 2 days ago that after a 26-year-long fight, he doesn't owe child support for a child that is not his.
The judge has finally agreed with me that this shouldn't have been done.
I feel very happy that the debt has been lifted, but I'm still hurt by what I've been through over 26 years.
You see that? They dismissed that case because he was just one of many. And that's the last thing they needed was a class action lawsuit of thousands of men who have been treated the same way under that Michigan child support law to come together and sue the system.
More money, more money, more money.
It would cost them billions. You understand? Not only would they have to pay the men back because those kids aren't theirs, what about all the dudes that lost their license, couldn't get jobs, spent multiple months, possibly years incarcerated for children that they proved weren't theirs? That's billions. That's at minimum, that's hundreds of millions. I'm willing to wager it's probably worth billions.
Maybe.
Paternity fraud. Ladies, that's another reason why men don't go to singles events. We don't go to brunches. We're not showing up to church singles events. We're not on the dating apps. We're not showing up in nightclubs. We don't go to strip clubs. We do not put ourselves in the vicinity of any individual woman that may possibly screw up our lives with a false accusation, with a paternity suit, with a divorce. This is what the dating market is, ladies. I wish you luck. With all that out the way, man, I appreciate everybody for showing up for me. I appreciate all my day one subs and all my new subs. If you would, give me a like, give me a sub, give me a share. I'll catch you on the next one. Toodles.